In that regard, do you leave out some of this graveyard? Like, if you're going to board in Rest in Peace, do you also keep all the Surgicals, Logic Knots?
I actually would bring in Surgical, not Rest in Peace. Because this is a matchup, specifically the way we see Caleb Scherer play it, with the 4 pieces of the puzzle sideboard, Caleb doesn't need his graveyards to win the game. So just shutting off graveyards, it has significant cost for Phillip Lorren's deck. He's also a Snapcaster Mage deck. You want to have access to things like Snapcast for your Dispel or your Spell Snare. That can be pretty important for you. And Surgical, if Scherer exposes a Grape Shot, that significantly diminishes his ability to win the game. He'd be on Empty the Warrens, and you're a deck that has access to multiple sweepers.
Lorren going to take a mulligan. We'll see if Caleb follows.
Definitely don't like to mulligan in a matchup like this. In general, Azorius Control is very much a deck that is just trying to commit game actions. They're just looking for lands and spells type hands. In all your matchups, it's important for you to hit land drops, and this is one where it's very important to have counter spells early and the right kind of counter spells.
Caleb has kept on 7 as Lorren surveys his 6-card hand. It looks like he will keep and scry to the bottom. No copies of Search for Azcanta in Azorius Control today. Very few 2-for-1s here. It's 1 hieroglyphic, no search. Otherwise, we're not really looking at draw spells. I guess
he's opted for 3 Ancestral Vision.
Okay, so he's going for that type of draw spell.
Right.
And you're absolutely right in that it will be the turn 1 play as he suspends it.
Now, this is a matchup where there's no legal card where Scheer's going to be looking at Lorren's hand. So once there's blue mana available, Scheer just kind of has to respect counterspells to the extent that he can beat them. And that's going to make it so there's some tension between casting into open mana and letting the Ancestral Vision come off suspend.
Well, that's the interesting part, right? Caleb is on the draw. Phillip is down a card for the Vision, and he's down a card for the mulligan. So Caleb's up 3. If he can try to execute a combo turn before this Ancestral Visions comes off, he's really interested in doing that.
Right. Yeah, and because of that, there is a lot of pressure for Lorren to have counter spells to back up the Ancestral Vision, something like Negate, Logic Knot. So he'll be playing Serum Visions here, which gives him more looks at that sort of thing.
That said, Caleb a double scry to the bottom on the Serum Visions. I think he's still looking for the second land right now.
Yeah, he put some good ones on the bottom. I think it was a Pieces of the Puzzle and Empty the Warrens. And 1 top, 1 bottom for Lorren here.
Another Serum Visions in Caleb's hand. It's unfortunate he's going to have to spend these cantrips to just fix his mana. But here we go. Steam Vents was drawn. Now Caleb, his deck's online, and he'll just go straight for Baral. I do like this. He could have used cantrips to try to get land drop 3 and 4, but because of that timing pressure, he's going straight for the mana creature.
Yeah, and he's playing against Azorius Control, not Jeskai, which means answers to it tend to be Path to Exile. You're pretty happy with that exchange. You also know that Lorren, he's only playing 1 Spell Snare, but getting your Baral hit by Spell Snare is a huge loss, so Lorren had the mana down. It was a good window for Baral.
There is 1 Oust in Lorren's list. I don't know if it's there post-board. It'd be a clean answer if he had one.
I would assume not.
And here's the Path to Exile. Upkeep, he'll go for the Baral. If it was, might have seen Caleb try to convert some instants there. Instead, he'll just accept the extra land. And this is neat. The Ancestral Visions is on 2, so Caleb will get 1 turn with this island advantage.
Right. Ideally, for Lorren, he'll have at least 1 counterspell up on this turn. If he has a Cryptic Command, this means he has a shot at having a 4th land and leaving that one up. Though frequently, that is too inefficient to interact in this matchup. Tons of cantrips available to Caleb Scherer.
Yeah, drew an island that turn. Interested to see what he wants to do with this. He has Pieces of the Puzzle. It would really load up his hand to cast it. If he just wants more lands, he may go for cantrips instead.
Well, I think it's more the issue that he has something like 3 or 4 1-mana blue cantrips in his hand.
Okay.
And he would rather just turn those all into things like rituals, where the Pieces can find him 2 cards, but then he's left with his hand that has all these cantrips. He wants to get these out of the way, turn them into something good.
Caleb turns the first cantrip into a Grape Shot. Second one is Opt. Keeps that on top, turns into another Grape Shot. Third cantrip is Serum Visions.
And the multiple grape shot setup makes it look like something where he can start to win just out of his hand.
Serum Visions finds land 5, and this Scry of the top 2 is a Desperate Ritual, and I think a Manamorphose.
Yes, I believe that's the combination. It's a nice combination.
If that's true, this hand of land 5, Ritual, Manamorphose, 2 Grape Shots, there is a lot to like here.
Yes.
Can you get, the question I would have though is, can you get all the way to 19? You know, Phillip hasn't helped you much on the damage front.
Right.
And he'll pass. Looks like the top was for Manamorphose, though I don't believe Desperate Ritual was put there.
Yeah, Manamorphose is just kind of always good to have, whereas the
Yeah.
Desperate Ritual, without a mana creature, also without a Past in Flames hanging out, that card's of questionable quality. The deck's also very, very full of that kind of effect, and he still has some cantrips, so if he wants some rituals, he'll be able to find them.
Fourth land by Phil. Cryptic up 4 mana. Next, he's hoping to survive to that Ancestral Visions, and we'll see if he gets to. Caleb's 4th turn here. He has land 5. Has some acceleration thanks to a Path to Exile. Draws the Manamorphose he knew about. He'll start with Opt. Storm is at 1. We haven't reached for the counters yet.
He should be able to remember 1.
Now, there's an Empty the Warrens he picked up there. That's something, if I'm in Caleb's position, I'm pretty interested in using.
That is quite tempting.
You can see Caleb same way. He's going to go for the Manamorphose. Storm is at 2. See if Phillip interacts here. Not yet.
I think if you have a spell snare, you fire it off there.
And is it just empty for 6 from Scherer? It is. Lorren's going to check the hand. He's got a play against for some of it.
He's thinking about counter draw on 1 copy.
Okay. So 4 goblins. Counter draw from Phillip, and he will restock the hand here with that Ancestral Visions coming off suspend. This is a big play.
Caleb did not use that many resources for these 4 goblins, but it's also the cases that the 4 goblins don't necessarily amount to much.
So, refill of the hand for Phillip Lorren. Plays land 5, and he goes back to the draw-go gameplay. He'll pass. Back to Caleb we go. Great. Looks like Manamorphose was the pickup, and he swings for 4. Snapcaster Mage into play for Lorren. It's going to block a goblin token. We'll see what it targets. Looks like he has Path to Exile.
I think he's path his own Snapcaster Mage. I guess you can
He
just
will.
take care of a goblin.
No, he took. Okay, pathed away a goblin.
It's possible that he just doesn't really have many or any sweepers in his deck post sideboard. It's a little bit easier to justify when you have engineered explosives in your sideboard, which he does not have. So he'd be looking at things like he has 3 main deck Terminus and 1 Supreme Verdict, which can be a little bit unwieldy.
Yeah. Takes a hit of 2. Caleb getting that 6th land here. Checking out the basics here. Looks like we have 4 islands, 1 mountain, so plenty of path targets left.
Right. I'm kind of wondering when I look at this, with that aggressive Path to Exile and the Goblin token, when Caleb's very capable of just grape-shotting for lethal out of hand, what Lorren's actual plan is for empty. Maybe he boarded in his Baneslayer Angel and his Lyra Dawnbringer.
I like this play from Caleb. He's starting with Pyretic Ritual, and that's because Storm's already at 3 thanks to Snapcaster Mage and Path to Exile.
Yeah, and he's just had 2 grape shots in his hand, right?
Yeah. Manamorphose is the 4th spell of the turn. Caleb gonna make 2 blue. 5th spell. Yeah, has to draw off the Manamorphose. Draws a 2nd pieces of the puzzle, and with so much reloading potential, he just feels free to go for these plays. We see Sleight of Hand from Scherer. And Empty the Warrens was taken, and a Shivan Reef bottomed. I don't know if he wants to empty or Grape Shot, though.
He's been setting up like he wants to grape shot. If that was the plan, he wanted to find something like a Desperate Ritual or a Manamorphose when he was casting those cantrips.
Yeah.
He gets another look if he has another blue cantrip to fire off. Though with the way that Lorren played that Snapcaster Mage path, it makes this Empty the Warrens very inviting, and that's what he goes for.
Yeah, and here's Empty. This is Empty to make 12 goblins. It's not the double grape shot win that Caleb was hoping for. And what it'll mean is that he'll have a fairly lethal board, but it'll be soft to a sweeper.
Right. And Lorren's really not playing like that's his plan. Maybe he has a Supreme Verdict in, but he does not seem thrilled about Goblin tokens.
Yeah, he has Logic Knot and Mana Leak, but at this point, what's the point in casting any of them? Either you're going to sweep these goblins or you won't.
Right.
If you sweep the goblins, might as well have a lot of counter spells left.
Yeah, the counter draw on one Empty earlier was more a situation where it was not that many goblins, and drawing the card was impactful.
Opt from Phillip Lorren. Has he kept a Terminus in? Maybe. Not here, though. And this means it's a total of 14 goblins in play from Scherer. It's more or less a lethal swing. It would put Phillip Lorren to 2, but then Caleb has 2 grape shots in hand. And Lorren does have the sweeper. He casts Terminus here.
Supreme Verdict. He played it like it was a miracle.
Okay, yeah. Supreme Verdict. It was off the top.
Right.
And back to Caleb we go. Pieces of the puzzle. A lot of resources were expended there for Caleb, but he has the ability to reload. And we have pieces here with enough to pay for Mana Leak.
Yeah, it's a 4-card hand with pieces of the puzzle on the stack, so I think he's still in a fine position.
Wipe away. And that's a sideboard Ignite Memories.
Yeah, Caleb and Paul were talking about having this card in their deck because they're tired of having all their win conditions surgical extraction. And this is a matchup where Ignite Memories can be good for a lot of damage.
And he'll go for a second piece of the puzzle. Phillip will Mana Leak that one. This one. Player reveals a card at random from their hand and take damage equal to the converted mana cost.
Storm.
Yeah, it's good right now. Phillip gets empty-handed. This doesn't do anything.
Yeah, though Phillip's empty-handed, you can probably kill your opponent somehow.
Yeah, probably. I guess that's right.
Yeah.
If your blue control opponent has no cards left.
You're doing all right. Yeah, Ignite Memories is one that I think it really has only ever seen play in Time Spiral Standard.
Yeah, there was the Storage Land Storm deck.
Dragon Storm.
Yeah. On Phillip's side, it looks like we have 2 lands, Logic Knot, and then a white card in hand. With not much to do, I think we're just going to see a Colonnade swing on in for 4.
I was hoping that was Baneslayer Angel, but yeah, that's a Colonnade hit.
You want to see a Baneslayer Angel get grape shotted?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, that sounds cool. 6 cards in hand for Caleb. Only facing down 2 mana. It's 1 counter spell represented. Can he put it together enough damage? Phillip Lorren is at 16. Recently swept away those goblin tokens, so Caleb has 2 grape shots to get the job done. And an Ignite Memories.
Yes. 6 lands to work with. There was a turn a while back where he scryed a Desperate Ritual to the bottom. And based off of how some of these combo turns have gone, that turn where he went for the empty, that extra ritual, that extra mana could have been very beneficial in converting these grape shots into a win.
So Caleb just says go. We go back to Lorren. He hits again with the Colonnade, makes another Colonnade. And just passes. Caleb looking for more cards. Every card that's a ritual is more burn. And he drew Manamorphose, and it's time. Here's Desperate Ritual.
That is a great draw.
3 mana off the Pyretic Ritual. Caleb Storm is at 1, 3 red mana. Desperate Ritual. Up to 4 red. Three cards in hand for Phillip Lorren. Logic Knot, land, and I'm not sure on the third one.
Well, it's unlikely it's something that combines with Logic Knot. Could specifically be Surgical Extraction, though with what's exposed, I don't think that that's really something that comes into play.
The question I have is whether or not it's a land, because if it's a land, then this Ignite Memories doesn't do anything. And Caleb has a big pickup here. It was his one of Remand. That's going to play really well on this board.
Yeah, he's got a ton of mana to work with here, so he can have 3 grape shots. He's got enough here. Looks like there is 9 mana available.
Yeah, Storm is at 4. So a Grape Shot would
take
be...
a 10th mana to do all 3.
Right. Well, there is a Logic Knot to counter the Remand.
Oh, right. I guess it's Grape Shot, Remand, that's 6, and then Grape Shot is 8, but yeah, the Logic Knot would cover that.
So it looks like what he's going to do is for his 5th spell here, is he going to Ignite Memories? He is. Storm is at 5, so 5 copies of Ignite Memories. Logic Knot in Phillip's hand.
If those are 2
says,
lands,
let's do
then
it.
you would just Logic Knot 1 copy. So that just adds to Storm for these Grape Shots, and Caleb has mana left over.
Yep, Storm is at 6. It's going to counter 1, 2, 3. It only counters 1 copy.
Right.
So 4 copies will resolve.
Yeah, if it's just 2 lands, I expect Lorren just to show them.
And Caleb needs to know whether he's copying countering a Storm copy or the original. That actually matters because of Caleb's Remand.
Yeah. And really, I think Scherer is just going to remand the Logic Knot because that's a spell. Oh, he passed on that. And I think that kind of cost him. These Ignite Memories could have been worth a bunch of chip shots. He can cast 2 Grape Shots. It's for 7, then 8. So that's 1 point shy.
Oh, that's so awkward. Both cards were 0s.
Yeah. And it's not ideal to remand the Logic Knot there. So you would have had your 6, or I guess it's 5 memories. The Logic Knot was the 6th spell. So that, I guess that doesn't necessarily do too much or even any damage.
Caleb is 1 short at the moment. He only has 2 Grape Shots in his list. He can't cast both of these for 7 and 8. He has to do better.
He can just Grape Shot, remand Grape Shot, and then hope to draw something and set up for next turn. He knows that Lorren's on lands. He knows he's not dead to Colonnade.
I think that's all he can do here. I mean,
wait,
it stinks.
Does Lorren have 2 Colonnades?
He does. He can't fire them both up.
Well, does 1 more land get him there?
No, he needs a lot more. He needs plenty more.
Then I think Grape Shot, remand the Grape Shot is the play.
Yeah, this Grape Shot is for 7. And that is the play. He'll remand his own Grape Shot back. So 6 of them come in, and Phillip will go to 10. Caleb drawing a card. Draws Pyretic Ritual. So we're looking at 2 and 3, so it's 6 damage for next turn. He needs to do better, and he only has 1 turn to do it. He's going to have to draw a blue cantrip.
Or a Manamorphose.
Yeah, some cantrip, right? He needs to... So right now they're at 2 and 3. He needs them to be at 5 and 6?
Right.
It's a lot to ask to ferry the draw for Phillip. Does he care? Does he even cast this, or does he just hit with Colonnade?
You have to find something very specific for the Teferi to be any good. I think you just hit with Colonnade, plan for the win next turn.
Yeah, I hope there's no Ignite Memories this time around. Lorren will Field of Ruin.
And starting on the Field of Ruin, I guess I would expect that to mean I guess the Teferi gets you 2 mana back. So he's tapping 5. What's it going to be? The Planeswalker or the attack? There's the attack.
Caleb needs a lot of help here. He's got 1 draw step. And Goblin Electromancer. And Caleb doesn't have it, so Phillip Lorren takes the game and the match. 2 games to 1. Azorius Control moves on to the semis.
Caleb Scherer, another top 8, even